This is an ADC warning. The crimes you're about to see are true. Only the names were changed to protect the ignorant. Tonight, on America's Dumbest Criminals, you'll see a criminal who falls asleep just behind the wheel, actual footage of dumb criminals on ice, and a case we call All Spruced Up. These are just a few of America's Dumbest Criminals. Welcome to America's Dumbest Criminals. I'm Daniel Butler. It doesn't matter who you are or what your education is. When you decide to break the law, everything goes wrong. True, some criminals are born to dumbness, some achieve it, but most have dumbness thrust upon them. You're about to meet the least wanted of the most inept as we open the files on America's Dumbest Criminals. Jay McIntosh of Birmingham tells us about a dumb criminal who could run fast, but he just couldn't run far.
We had a burglary call go out, and it was one of the old mom and pop type grocery stores. And they said there was a couple of guys breaking in the back of the store, so my partner and I eased up with our lights off. They spotted us, and they just bolted out the front door, shattered the front door, and ran. Well, one went south, and one went north. My partner, being smart, he went after the shorter, fatter guy. So I took off after my guy. This guy had a 40-yard head start, and I thought, well, no chance, but I'll put on the show. But as he crossed the street, like I said, this residential section, this man all the way down his yard had like 8 to 10 foot high spruce type bushes that were real wide. And as he crossed the street, he was looking back at me, and he ran right into one. Fell down on the other side, you know, and so I kind of gave a little chuckle and thought, well, I'll gain a little bit. Well, he jumped up, and I mean, each one spaced like 15 feet apart. He jumped up, ran, looked back at me, and ran into the second one. Tumbled through the other side. Well, but now I'm gaining on him. And he ran through the third and ran through the fourth, and I would have caught him by the third one, but I was laughing so hard by the time I got to him. So we snatched him up.
Mr. Larry Johnston of New York was issued 2,800 parking tickets between 1985 and 1988. He used 19 addresses and 36 license plates to evade paying the $150,000 in fines. He began parking without his car, but whew, the street sweeping was brutal. While running radar one afternoon, an undercover narcotics officer pulled over a speeding car with snooze control. Let's watch.
I had a man, I clocked him speeding, and he was going probably 65 in a 40. So I pulled him over, and as I pulled him over, he put his car in park and jumped into the back seat and laid down. I didn't know if he was going after a weapon or what he was doing, so I called for a backup unit. And when my backup unit got there, we approached the vehicle, and there was a female sitting in the front seat.
What's he doing?
I don't know. I don't know what he's doing.
Sir? Sir, what are you doing? Sir, what are you doing? Sir, get up. Get up.
He tried to tell me that he wasn't driving the car, that I had the wrong car, that he had been in the back seat asleep. He also had warrants out on, and I arrested him for DUI.
That little nap got our backseat driver a nice long stretch in jail. And now, actual footage of our extravaganza we call Dumb Criminals on Ice. The roads are closed. The police have asked people not to drive. It's icy out. But drive they must, and crash they will. Now, a young car thief who knows too much about something he knew nothing about, a four-wheel suspicion. Patrolling a strip of fast food restaurants in Memphis, two officers spotted a known car thief pulling out from a drive-thru window in a car they suspected didn't belong to him. At about the same time, he spotted the patrol unit. The car thief kid took off. The cops hit their lights and sirens and started the pursuit. The officers had dealt with this carnapper on numerous occasions in the past, but he was still a minor then. So whenever he'd steal a car, the cocky kid would always go for broke when chased by the police. This was the first time the officers had chased him since he turned 18. Now he was an adult and could be tried as one. The next day, the new adult was taken to the detective's office for questioning.
Man, you got the wrong guy.
Oh, really? You were identified in a car that didn't belong to you, chased for 7 miles, and then arrested right after you exited the vehicle. Of course it was you.
There's no way they could have identified me.
Why is that?
Man, I was wearing a ball cap, and the windows of the car were tinted.
Oh, yes, he was smart. He just identified himself and confessed, all at one time. Imitating animals is against the law in Miami, Florida, but you can imitate insects using balloons and glasses. Breaking the law is the first step taken on the road to becoming a dumb criminal. The second step is believing that the police are as dumb as you are. Here's Captain Rick Billiou of the Las Vegas Police Department to tell us about 2 men he met on the second step of that road.
It was about 2 o'clock, and we were driving down Eastern Avenue, and we had passed a car that was alongside the road, and we noticed that it was jacked up and one of the tires were off of it. Or flat, I don't recall, but we continued down Eastern, and we noticed these 2 males pushing a tire down the street, and they were pushing the tire along. Well, we knew that further down the street was a gas station that closed at 11 o'clock, and we surmised that possibly these 2 had committed a burglary on the gas station to get a tire to fix the car that was broken down. So we stopped them, got in front, and they were Latinos. They were, I believe, from Mexico, but they were Latin males. And I asked the one, "Where did you get the tire?"
Get that tire. No hablo inglés.
No hablo inglés, which meaning I don't speak English. And I said, "Oh, okay." And I turned to the other and I said, "Where did you get the tire?" And he said, "I don't know." He said it was his tire. I just walked with him for about the last block. I don't know where he got it. And I said, "Oh, you're not together?" And he said, "No, we've just been walking for about a block." And I said, "Oh, well, could you ask him where he got the tire?" So he turned to him and said,
Where you get all the tire? I don't speak Spanish.
and his partner mumbled something back to him because it distracted me. And he turned back to me as if to answer me. And I looked at him, and I think my mouth had dropped open, and I said, "Where you get de tiro?"
He speaks a different dialect.
I said, "You've got to be kidding me." I said, "I'm not Spanish. I don't speak Spanish, but I know that's not Spanish." And as it turned out, they were both of Latin descent, but they were born and raised in the United States, had lived there all of their lives, their parents too, and neither one of them spoke Spanish. And as luck would have it, we had another unit go down, and the gas station had been burglarized, and they'd committed the burglary.
So the stolen tyro led to their arresto. Coming up, a dumb criminal who escaped 46 years too late. Welcome back. If you're going to break out of prison after 28 years, a getaway car is a good place to start. That is, if you can start it. Back in 1918, Victor Mitchum was sentenced to life in prison. After 28 years of incarceration, he managed to escape with the help of a lifelong friend. The friend was instructed to leave a getaway car on an old abandoned farm near the prison. The criminal's escape went like clockwork. As he reached the old farm, there sat the car as planned. Things were going good, but they weren't going good for long. You see, when Victor was sentenced way back in 1918, the cars that he knew were all started by a large crank on the front of the car. This new modern baby didn't have a crank. It was started with a key from the dashboard, a slight engineering advancement that our fossilized felon was unable to grasp. He was still sitting in the car, trying to figure it out, when the state police picked him up and gave him a ride back to prison. It is illegal to wrestle an untrained bull in New Mexico, but an untrained bull can beat the living daylights out of you. When now retired Officer Frank Walmer got the call about a man trying to kick in a basement door of a woman's home, he didn't expect to find him still there. Walmer and his partner were dispatched to a burglary in progress call in a residential neighborhood. The officers arrived, and the homeowner was very frightened.
He's breaking down the door. I don't know who it is.
As the officers stood in the living room, they could plainly hear all sorts of thumping and bumping coming from the basement. The two officers went into the kitchen and found that someone on the other side of the basement door was methodically kicking it in. Once he broke through, the thick-headed thief never looked around. He twisted, wiggled, and with a great deal of effort, finally managed to squeeze through the hole he had made.
This ain't my house!
No, it wasn't his house. His house is now the big house. And now, more actual footage of dumb criminals on ice. ABC quiz number 1822. How often would you think a car is stolen in the United States? Is it A, one car every 20 seconds, B, every time you turn around, or C, 180 cars per hour? The correct answers were A and C. There's one car stolen every 20 seconds or 180 cars stolen per hour in the United States. So my question is, if they steal them as fast as we make them, then do we ever own them? Officer Timothy Walker of Birmingham is about to tell us a good story about a bad excuse.
We stopped a white female and a white male in a drug area, well-known drug area, and somebody told them that we were in an unmarked car, and somebody said, it's 5-0, you know. And 5-0 is, you know, they alert everybody in the area that 5-0 is the police, so everybody knows the police is in the area when they say 5-0. So upon them saying that, the white male and the white female, after they'd parked, they backed up and left the area. Anyway, we caught up to them, and they said the reason that they were in the area is they didn't know the area, and that she had just got off of the expressway and she was lost. So I said, well, is that the reason you parked in the project? Because you were lost? And she was like, she didn't have an excuse for that. But the reason she was in the area in the first place was she was lost.
Coming up, a bafflingly dumb counterfeit case on America's dumbest criminals. Now, inside the courtroom for trial and error. In an interesting case, a prosecutor is about to provide an interesting piece of evidence to get his conviction.
Your Honor, while my client is suspected in numerous thefts in town, there's very little evidence to support these charges.
Your Honor, I beg to differ with my colleague. My house was broken into recently, and it so happens that jacket he's wearing is mine.
It used to be against the law to travel on the streets of Bruton, Alabama in a motorboat, which of course forced all the bass fishermen to the air. Once in a while, when stopped by the police, we open our mouths and we say the right thing and somehow manage to talk our way out of a ticket. Well, you're about to meet a guy who said all the wrong things and talked himself right into jail.
While I was still a young jailer, a highway patrol officer brought in a fellow. He'd stopped him on a minor traffic violation, tail light out or something of the sort. Since the man would not sign the citation, the officer was forced to take him into custody. And when they got to the jail, he still pleaded with the man to sign the citation so that the trooper could go on home at the end of the shift.
If you don't sign the ticket, I'm going to have to go outside and tow your car and inventory your car.
Well, if you didn't have to be super cop, this wouldn't have happened. So go out there and tow me.
Take care of this guy.
I don't care. We'll all sleep.
So the trooper left, and as I booked the man in, he said, when can I make bail? I said, well, just as soon as you can get somebody here. And he said, where
are my car keys?
We give them to the trooper.
Why'd you give them to the trooper? When he tows your vehicle, we do a complete inventory of the car.
The whole car?
Yes, sir. The whole car.
When the trooper came in again a half hour later, he was smiling. When he opened the trunk to do the inventory, he ran across the burglary tools and the cocaine.
Man, could this day get any worse?
Well, we also have a felony warrant for your arrest in Georgia.
Can you believe that guy? All he had to do was sign the ticket. He just opened his mouth to switch feet. And now, the great finale of Dumb Criminals on Ice. Counterfeiting is a difficult crime to pull off. That's why this dumb criminal didn't.
I was in the office, and one of our uniformed officers gave me a call from out in the field. And he says, we have this guy at the 7-Eleven store that was detained for trying to cash a bill that had been altered. It's a common practice of taking a corner off of a 100 and then placing it on the end of a 1, and then take another 100 and cutting off the corner of that 100 and placing it on the other side. Well, this guy cut off part of a 1 and put it on the end of a 20 and was trying to pass it as a $1 bill and get changed. He had the thing reversed. He was losing money, not gaining money.
Can I get my change?
So he was so dumb, I told the officer, just take the money, impound it, and kick him loose.
The man got shortchanged on brains. And now, Sean Chadwick of Wilton Manors, Florida, tells us about the dumb criminal dating game.
We have this guy around here. This is quick, and you kind of had to be there, but this is hysterical. This guy, he's not all there, and he's really pretty harmless. And you see him all the time, and he always acts like he's like a spy or FBI or CIA or something. And we got a call one day that a guy was walking down the road with a mask fully down to his neck. I mean, his head was totally covered. So that's, you get a little suspicious over stuff like that, especially being a cop. So we drive over there, and around the corner walks this guy with a paper bag over his head with 2 little eyes cut out, And just from seeing him walk, I knew exactly who it was, And I'm like, why is he doing that? Now, you got to understand, this is not the most attractive individual in the world to begin with. And so he comes walking up, and I said, Joey, why do you have a bag over your head? He goes, trying to get a date.
As always, our thanks to the men and women of law enforcement, and to you for watching. But hey, people, play it smart. Don't break the law, or we'll catch you next week on America's Dumbest Criminals. I'm Daniel Butler. God bless.